SNBC.
We're back with Conversation Nation. Joining us tonight, MSNBC's Crystal Ball, New York Times reporter Josh Barro, and political strategist Angela Rye. Thank you all for being here.
Thanks for having us, Rev.
First up, should President Obama call the GOP's bluff with an executive action on immigration? We mentioned this earlier in the show. Speaker Boehner said it would poison the well. And Republicans are lining up with political threats, comparing it to waving a red flag in front of a bull, a nuclear threat, like throwing a hand grenade in the middle of Congress. Crystal, should the president call Speaker Boehner's bluff, or will he blink?
He should absolutely call their bluff. Actually, Norm Ornstein and Thomas Mann had a great idea, I thought, which was to issue the executive action and delay the implementation of it and say, look, you've got a window here, Republicans, where you have a chance to enact the reform that you want to enact since you think, John Boehner, that this is something that should happen. And if they don't do it, then it goes into effect. I think that makes all the sense in the world. And one thing that is absurd here is John Boehner in his press conference talked all about how he thought immigration reform should happen. He is the one person standing between it actually happening.
Exactly right.
But I mean, I don't really understand this threat, because there's no way that immigration reform is going to pass out of this Congress. This Congress is much less favorable than the last Congress. It's more Republican, and you have Republicans who just went through an election cycle where they saw Eric Cantor go down in a primary in large part over the immigration issue. There's a clear divide between the Republican base on this issue, and certain Republican business interests would like an immigration bill. John Boehner wants business people to think that he wants an immigration bill. But whether or not they're happy with the president, they're not going to pass one through Congress. So it's to say, oh, well, we won't play nice. They're not going to play nice either.
But Angela, you're the political strategist. There's a difference in the vote in the primary and a general. Isn't this politically risky for them?
It is, but it was politically risky all this past year when they didn't act on it. And we even saw them say, we're going to consider immigration reform. Okay, well, we'll consider it piecemeal. Okay, when John Boehner said that they were going to consider it, Eric Cantor wrote a memo the very next week saying we're not going to consider it. So he lost an election really off of political ads, not even the lack of action. So now they still aren't going to do immigration reform. They're going to do border enforcement, which is vastly different and is not going to get Latino folks and others who are interested in really comprehensive immigration reform on their side.
But if they're going to do border security, does that mean the president ought to call their bluff? I go back to my original question.
Absolutely. I mean, in my view, he should have done it this summer when he originally had planned to. But there is absolutely no reason to think that this Republican Congress is going to act in any sort of meaningful way. They would have done it already if they were going to. It's gotten harder now, not easier. So if he's going to do something, he has to do it himself.
What are the odds that you think he'll do it?
Oh, I think it's close to 100%. I mean, he's politically committed to it at this point. If he backed off, he would greatly disappoint Hispanic voters and left-wing constituencies in general. And he has nothing to lose politically from the right. You know, people who hate immigration reform already hate the president. If he had decided 2 years ago that he wasn't going to pursue this path, he could have decided it. Now he might as well proceed.
And then they keep saying, Rev, as you know, well, if he does this, it's going to poison the well. Well, the well is already poisoned. These are the same folks at the press conference that were saying, we're going to repeal Obamacare. Well,
they have a lot of wells they keep talking about. Let me go to this, to the plus-size controversy erupting on social media. It's about Calvin Klein's perfectly fit underwear campaign, featuring a size 10 model. Calvin Klein never labeled the model a plus size, but in an interview, the model calls herself a, quote, bigger girl, bigger than all the Calvin Klein has ever worked with. That sparked outrage online. A Calvin Klein spokeswoman released a statement saying the campaign was created to celebrate and cater to the needs of different women, and these images are intended to communicate that our new line is more inclusive and available in an extensive range of sizes. Angela, the company has a right to sell whatever it wants, But now we have a conversation over body image for women. Are we actually moving in the right direction because we're talking about it now?
No, because I don't think that we're talking about it in a way that's honest. Like, number one, she's not plus size, and she's not a bigger girl. Maybe she's a bigger model, but that is a completely different
bigger than
standard.
a size 0.
Right. There's a 1 in front of it, and I'm wondering if those are UK sizes, Crystal. But the other thing is, you have a situation where women struggle with image, and so do men. But I think overwhelmingly women struggle with how they're perceived and how they look. And this woman talks about in an Elle article that she was struggling with all types of eating disorders. And so to now see her as the plus size, what about the bigger women?
So the offense is she's not really plus size.
No, she's not plus size.
To me, it's a sad. I'm very interested to hear what Josh Barro has to say on the topic. I want to do space for that.
I'm definitely going to let him come in last on it.
But I mean, I think the bigger issue here is this incredibly beautiful, like perfect-looking woman is surrounded. She's in an industry where she is told and she's internalized the message that she is somehow bigger and has something to, in a way, apologize for. Now, I do think it's encouraging that there has been a conversation sparked, and we saw this with Victoria's Secret Perfect Body campaign featuring a lot of size 0, very skinny, one type of body women, and there was a backlash, and they attempted to correct it. So the fact that there is a level of accountability, to me, is a huge step forward.
Yeah, I mean, well, I don't think it sounded like she was apologizing. She was describing herself as bigger, and she is bigger than the typical model who appears in these campaigns, even though by normal societal standards she is very beautiful and not large. But I think, yes, but I think you have to put some of this on the consumer. I mean, first of all, people aspire to be thin. And both men's and women's clothing ad campaigns are full of people who are typically unattainably good-looking. And part of the message it sells to the consumer is, if you put these clothes on, it will move you toward being...
airbrush people.
And people buy them. Never called her a plus size.
That's right. No. Well, okay, but part of the problem is with a lot of the beauty industry, they have actually created the negative self-image that women have because it helps them sell products. So we created the fact that you want your thighs to look thinner, so we're going to sell you a product to make your thighs look thinner. So it's not just the consumer, it's the fact that we're being driven to these views by these companies.
Let me give you another example. Last summer, there was a huge to-do about H&M and Beyonce because they airbrushed her to make her smaller than what she really was. So I have to agree with Crystal that the way that the media campaigns work, they reinforce the negative ways in which women perceive themselves or people perceive their bodies.
But how do you tell when an idea comes from the manufacturer and they build an ad campaign and makes people think they want it? And how do you tell when it's a company responding to consumer demand and responding to the fact that
they want to make money.
I'm going to have to leave it there. More ahead with our panel. Is Angelina Jolie ready for a career in politics? She's talking about it. And President Obama rocks the dark purple silk shirt in China. But who wore it best? Next.